Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Life Designed by Love. My name is Florence, and I am an anxiety and empowerment coach. And today, I want to talk to you about what it is like to navigate a family gathering with grace. This is Canadian Thanksgiving long weekend, and inevitably, when something like this comes along, we discover that there can be awkward moments sometimes in family gatherings. We can go to this with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Sometimes it's people that we want to avoid. Sometimes it's just the logistics of getting there. Sometimes it's wondering, who's going to be there and how am I going to kind of navigate that? And then there's going to be all kinds of other people that we might really want to see and hang out with. And so it can be tricky, right? Because things like Thanksgiving, Christmas, they bring everybody together. And perhaps there's a loud person and you're an introvert and you'd like to be away from them. Or perhaps you're just grieving something and other people aren't. Or perhaps you're struggling with something and other people aren't. Or they don't really give you the space to kind of navigate that. So I have some experience with being around awkward family gatherings. And so I wanted to share with you what I have learned that will be helpful. So one of the very first things that I always do when I'm going to any kind of, event where I'm uncertain is I want to prepare spiritually. I want to make sure that the Lord is going with me and that He knows all of my concerns, right? And so the Bible gives us some examples about how to actually come to the Lord with our emotions. And I think it's Psalm 3 that is a really good one where it says you can just come and bring your emotions. Like, Lord, this is going to be tricky. There are going to be tricky times this weekend, and I need you to be with you. I need you to give me grace. I need you to give me wisdom. I need you to give me courage to go and to do these things. So we invite God into all of our thoughts and our actions, right? We literally invite Him in. And so there's scriptures like in Philippians where it says, like, you don't need to be anxious because God is with you, right? But sometimes that verse almost a little bit makes us feel worse because we're like, I know I'm not supposed to be anxious, but I am. So what I have found is that I bring everything to the Lord. I set really, really clear intentions for what it is that I want to do at this event. Likely connect with family members that I haven't seen for a while, or connect with those that I have. I always want to hug the kids. I want to find out some things about the kids. And so I'm really clear about this is the intent. And then I want to go and be present and perhaps on occasion. Hello, Lena and Mom. So good to see you. Perhaps on occasion, I want to be elsewhere when don't somebody else is in the room. And this doesn't have to be, I can't stand that person, but more just maybe something feels awkward or, I don't know what to say to them always, right? Like there's always some people where you're like, this is kind of tricky. What do I do? So first thing, always bring the Lord into it, right? And we know that God is always present, but sometimes we race ahead of Him and we don't take Him with us. We sort of forget that we can invite Him along and that He will be there and be really, really obviously present when we invite Him in. So that's the kind of thing I want to say to you first. Prepare spiritually. And if you're somebody who likes to journal, beforehand, write down a scripture. Stick it maybe, on a card in your pocket or put it on your phone, something that you can pull out often, right? I have a few that really comfort me, most of them are ones that say, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I will always be with you. And so I just picture myself holding on to the hand of God while I go to these things. Now, I'm talking to you today about family gatherings, but it can be any kind of event that you're feeling a bit anxious about. Take the Lord with you. Invite Him into the experience. And so that when you do that, when you're there, you can kind of be like, all right, the Lord is with me. I don't have to feel so alone and afraid in this particular situation. And I'm chuckling even as I say these words, because for some people, of course, going to a family gathering isn't anxiety provoking, but for some of us it is. And even if it's, I haven't seen this person for a while, and we're talking anxious people here, right? So we can be anxious about anything. So we want to bring the Lord along with us. Step 1. Okay, step 2, honor your personality. I'm a hardcore introvert, and so I know that I need to know somebody there that I can go to and kind of chat with, and my eyes will inevitably seek out that person. You know how you feel when you're walking up the stairs into this event, and you're sort of thinking, oh, wonder who's going to be in there. And even if it's not that obvious to you, we often have some of these feelings where we're like, oh, I don't really know how this is going to be. So know that you might need to connect with somebody there that you know well. Somebody that you feel comfortable with, somebody that you can just chat with, that you don't really have to be anybody other than yourself. So that's the first part. And then also know what sort of conversations and things are uncomfortable for you, right? If it's the person that you haven't seen for a while and, they live far away and they're here and you're like, I can say hello, but I don't really know what else to say. You can think about it beforehand. What might I like to ask this person? And then perhaps it's just, I'm just going to, navigate around and not necessarily spend a ton of time with them. So if you can think about it beforehand, then you're that much better prepared. I want to be really, really clear. This isn't even about, having like hardcore disagreements with people. It's just how we're comfortable and how we kind of feel when we're around other people. So again, if you're somebody who journals, what personal boundaries do you need to maintain? What do you need to say to yourself before you go? What sort of topics can you maybe talk about? I know that lots of people, they love talking about their kids. So, if you are around somebody who has children, you ask about them. Whether they're adults or whether they're little ones, ask about them. That inevitably allows you to have a conversation. Both men and women like to talk about their kids. If there's certain things that you need others to know, how do you communicate that with others? Like my family knows that I'm an introvert. So sometimes if I kind of, disappear off to the side for a little while or I go outside, nobody's surprised because they know I just need a little bit of space and then I'll come back. But I've talked to them about this over time, right? So they know this. And so that's kind of a way that we can set our boundaries respectfully, right? Being able to talk to people and say, hey, you know what? This is what's going on for me. This is what I need. And so I have 2 sisters, and they're often the people that I talk to about things beforehand. Also, my nieces, I'll say to them, oh, I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this because whatever reason. And they're very accepting. And so then they know that, and then they're kind of keeping an eye out for me, right? So if you have somebody like that, yay, those are the people you want to connect with. Practice some self-care. I just mentioned to you, sometimes I will leave and I'll go outside. Just get a few minutes to myself. We often meet at the family farm and it's loud. There's kids, there's a bouncy castle, sometimes there's ping pong, there's a lot of noise. I can only do that for so long and then I need to be out for a bit, 2-3 minutes outside, and then I can come back in and, I reset myself when I'm outside, right? Come back in. So what sort of self-care practices do you need to take care of while you're at one of these events? Then remember to be kind to yourself and compassionate, right? So I know myself pretty well now, and I know that going to something like this, inevitably, although I enjoy it immensely, I need little spaces. I need to, be okay with me being outside. Be okay with me running down the stairs and out the door for a minute. Be okay with me maybe going into another room and, I often offer to help. Oh, shall I go and grab the sandwiches? Oh, would you like me to go downstairs and grab the coffee? It gives you a moment to just get out and to be kind to myself as I'm doing that. I often find myself laughing at myself a little bit because I'm like, oh, okay, I know you're an introvert and I know you need some space. Go get some coffee and then come back, And so with that, practicing grace and compassion for myself, I try really hard to do that with others also, right? Because know that other people are going through all kinds of things, right? Sometimes they're grieving and we don't really know it. Sometimes they're struggling with something that we don't really know. Sometimes they're just awkward, right? And awkwardness often comes from feeling a bit shy or, uncertain themselves. Sometimes it comes across as being a little bit arrogant, right? Like they don't really look at you and then you're like, oh man, what have I done? But really, if we try to remember how do I feel when I'm talking to someone I feel a bit awkward with, then we can get into that compassionate space and things feel less personal. So again, before you go, if you're a journaling person, how do you respond to any kind of negativity you feel coming your way? With grace and empathy, right? Because if I know before I go that, I'm probably going to feel a little bit awkward around Sally because I haven't seen her in a long time, and Sally's just a name I use always to talk about people, then maybe I need to either think of something I can ask her or, go talk to her when she's talking to somebody else. That's also, I find, sometimes helpful, right? One of my sisters or nieces is talking to somebody, I can just come in and I can listen and I can be part of it, but not necessarily feel like I have to carry the conversation. And then if there is actually an issue, there's something that you need to talk to somebody about, or, choose your battles, right? Not every issue needs to be addressed, and also not every issue needs to be addressed at the family event, right? Sometimes we can do that beforehand, sometimes we can do it afterwards, right? Being respectful to the other person if we want to address something. I often think, how would I feel if somebody came up to me at a family gathering and said, well, I want to talk to you about the fact that you didn't respond to my text. And I'm like, text? What text? I don't know. Did I get a text? I know, now I'm flustered. I can't think of anything anymore, right? And so just, what is the intent? Do you want to clear the air? Do you want to shame somebody? Two totally different ways of addressing things, right? So what's worth addressing, and what's worth addressing with that person? What's worth letting go of? And what is it that you might need somebody else to know, right? Like, I know that family gatherings sometimes also can bring up grief, right? Things that they're losses that we experience. And so what do you need other people to know? Do you maybe need them to know before you get there that you're struggling? Oh, you guys, I'm feeling really sad lately, or whatever's kind of happening in your life, do you say that to people so that they know, right? Recently I actually received some information from somebody who was struggling, and and she said, this is news we have, and we're struggling with it ourselves. So if you could pray for us, that would be great, but please don't come and talk to us about it. And I thought, oh, that is brilliant, because now I know exactly what to do, right? Because I can pray. Boy, I can pray. But I maybe don't necessarily know what to say to you if you're sad about something or whatever. Like, you just want to hug that person, but maybe they don't need that, right? Maybe that's more about me than it is about that person. So is it worth addressing? What can you let go of? What do you need to let other people know about you? Because sometimes we just assume everybody knows. Oh, everybody knows I'm having a hard time. Well, why would they? Usually when you show up, you're cheerful and you're smiling and you're, you look put together. Don't most of us show up put together? So they might not know. Understand, this is the fourth thing. We can't please everyone. So it's okay to prioritize our own well-being. And do you know that when we do that, we come across as so much more approachable, right? I know that if I go to any sort of family gathering and I'm aware that I can step out because I'm, an introvert, and I'm aware that if the lights are too bright or if it's too hot, because I'm highly sensitive, I sometimes need to step out, and that's okay. And sometimes somebody will say to me, hey, are you leaving? I'll be like, no, just stepping out for a second. They're like, okay, right? Just having that priority of, I'm going to be okay, because when I come back, I'm cheerful and I'm involved, right? Because I've taken care of my needs. And when I'm allowing myself to take care of my needs, I'm also way more compassionate about other people who need to take care of their needs, right? Because sometimes, I know one of my nieces is also really introverted, and she'll step outside sometimes, and I have to smile because I'm like, I know exactly what that's about, right? So, and then when she comes in, even just smiling at her, right? Like, hi, welcome back. I know this is what you went to do. It is entirely possible to be compassionate towards yourself and towards others, and respectful at the same time, honoring our own needs, while also honoring what may be going on for somebody else, right? And then have a plan. Have a plan for the tough situations, like if there is something awkward happening in your family and you're like, I don't really know how to navigate this, have a plan for when you go in there. Is there somebody that you're going to go talk to right away? Are you going to take a little time out if you need to, and sometimes we just want to avoid somebody, then do that, if you're at a fairly big family gathering, then you can be over there and they can be over there. right? You can always smile and nod. You don't need to have a big, long conversation with someone that you feel a bit awkward with. And as my family has got bigger and bigger and bigger, we've been really blessed with really phenomenal people. But we do have some introverts, and sometimes there are awkward conversations, and sometimes there are people, depending on what's going on for me, sometimes I'm not in the greatest space, and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to address this, or, whatever's going on for us. We just want to be respectful of that, right? Without going out of our way to hurt anyone else or ourselves. So again, if you're journaling, what is your plan for taking a break when you're feeling overwhelmed? How can you just excuse yourself from a situation if that's what you need? And what might you say? Right? It depends too. Like, again, in my family, not too many people say anything if one of us steps out, right? We're pretty used to that ebb and flow. But if you're in a family where people are very curious and they want to know, what would you say if you were going to step out for a moment for yourself? And then having a support system. I said to you earlier, I have 2 sisters, and I also have a whole bunch of nieces. And sometimes when something is going on for one of us, we'll talk to the other, right? And just say, this is kind of going on. I'm having a bit of a hard time. And you know how sometimes we're in our own head and we're going to this family gathering and there's a piece of us that just wants to stay home, but we also want to go to the family gathering. People can recognize that in us, right? There'll be an energy about us that sort of says, I don't know if she wants to be here. I don't know. Maybe we're a bit, standoffish or closed offish, and that's okay. If we've talked to somebody about it beforehand, they'll know and they'll understand. You can go stand by that person for a little while. So who in your support system can you rely on for encouragement during your visit? And then how will you stay connected with that particular person throughout the gathering? And what methods can you reach out for support when needed? I know a while ago I went to this really big gathering, and my friend was there, and so I went in, and I'm sure that I looked like a deer in headlights, and so I sidled over to where she was, and I just stood beside her for a while. And she was greeting, and so she just, she hugged me, and she said hello, and I said, I'm just going to stand here with you for a while. She said, okay. And so she's greeting other people, but I was just kind of standing next to her, right, getting my bearings, and then once I was good to go, then I said, okay, I'm off, and she said, okay, and off I went. So just knowing that there's somebody there, if you're having a hard time. And then once the event is over, it's time to reflect on how things went and what you can learn from the experience. What strengths did you exhibit during this particular family gathering or any kind of gathering? What are you proud of, right? What are you like, okay, God and I, we navigated this really well. And were there some blips on the horizon? Were there maybe a couple of things you thought, I wish I'd done that a bit better? Next time, I would like to do this, right? So we want to celebrate our successes. We want to be aware of, little areas where maybe we had bumps. And then we want to write that down somewhere so that next time, like at Christmas, we will know what to do. What can I do differently next time, right? And sometimes the question is, will I choose to go again? And maybe it's no. Maybe it's yes, I'm, better informed, I have more skills, right? I hope it's yes, I'm better informed and have more skills. But sometimes if things are really difficult, you might choose not to. And so being kind and compassionate with yourself about that also, right? So navigating family gatherings with challenging dynamics can be tough. But with preparation and self-care, and especially with that spiritual grounding, you can handle them with confidence. You can know exactly what it is that you need to do. And you don't have to go through it alone, right? One, you're taking God with you. That's huge. But if you need some more support, hopefully there's a family member around that can help you. And if you want to know how to navigate events in general, if you struggle with social anxiety, then I'm your person. Because I struggled with it for years and years. And what I shared with you today are things that I learned myself as I tried to kind of navigate, joining the new choir and being so scared I wasn't sure I could sing, joining a new church, right? Coming in the door and being like, you kind of hope nobody looks at you, and you kind of hope there's somebody, friendly there for you. Just being able to do new things, right? If you have some social anxiety, then contact me, because I know what that's about and I can help. I help in 2 different ways. I have one-to-one counseling and also one-to-one coaching. And I also have a group program. So if you need help in any way, please let me know, because I would be delighted to help you. Absolutely delighted. Because I think that every person, every woman I work with women exclusively. Every woman needs to know that she's valued and loved and seen and heard. And so if you need any of those things, then contact me, because I would be delighted to help you with that. So thank you for coming and listening today. Today felt like a little bit of a different conversation because it is Canadian Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to give you some skills to manage that. And I hope to see you next week, or next week for sure. Have a good day. It's a lovely, lovely October day here where I am. So I hope that you're having a fabulous day. And I'll see you next week.